Pacheco comes in motion to be a left halfback. 3 eligible to the right. Kelsey split in left. Low snap. Chiefs will throw it. It goes to Smith-Schuster on a screen, and he stumbles and falls. And he goes down at the 19, losing 4 yards. Avonte Maddox is there. And now the Eagles will call timeout, and the Chiefs will have 3rd down and 11. Or 3rd and 8, I should say. They're going to stay at the 16-yard line. It'll be 3rd down and 8.
Lost 2 yards on that play, anticipating blitz.
Flying over New Orleans, Louisiana, looking back the Mississippi River, see the Gulf of Mexico off in the distance. And oh yeah, there's the Caesars Superdome, Super Bowl 59 on the way, a rematch between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs. Welcome in to Super Bowl today. I'm Patrick Claybon, here with Marcus Grant. We are powered by Verizon, and the Eagles, Marcus, are going to be powered by revenge because they lost to the red team in Super Bowl 57.
Yeah, we're not about, playing to see who wins the championship of the National Football League. We are powered by the narrative, and the narrative says the Eagles have to get this one to salve their wounds from 2 seasons ago.
Yeah, so they got to try extra hard. It's the only thing that makes sense. You should try extra hard. To enjoy the program that we have for you, we get a chance to hear from no longer a rookie quarterback Drake Maye, also Cam Heyward, Patrick Peterson, another Cam Jordan set to join us. And what's the Kirk Cousins comeback going to look like in 2025? And where is he going to be? Where should he be? That's coming up on the show. But we are, of course, interested in Super Bowl 59. What are we most interested about? In fact, Marcus, what are you most excited to see on Sunday?
Well, look, there are going to be plenty of stars, right? Patrick Mahomes, Saquon Barkley, Jalen Hurts, Chris Jones, so many big names on either side of this. I'm interested in the big name that we're going to see at halftime, though. Kendrick Lamar. I mean, obviously, he's become a cultural phenomenon, has crossed over beyond just the world of hip-hop and, with songs and videos that really have sort of become a cultural touchstone. And so this is going to sort of be his moment, right? I mean, he had a big week at the Grammys. He's been streaming left and right. I mean, the numbers have been going bananas for him. But just want to see him take the stage at halftime and see what kind of performance he has.
And I get to be excited that we can sit there and look for a legal team of a certain Canadian artist to have some lawsuit that maybe we can get named as a part of, right? Because we are still laughing at you specifically. What I am most excited about is an opportunity for a guy from Amite City in Louisiana who is an undersized, allegedly, receiver who goes to the University of Alabama with some big-time recruits ahead of him. He winds up having a walk-off touchdown in the national championship game, goes on to win the Heisman Trophy, and now he's playing in his 2nd Super Bowl an hour away from his hometown. How about this? Steve Spagnuolo and the Kansas City Chiefs have a solid defense. They played Devontae Smith 3 times. He averages over 100 yards when he plays Steve Spagnuolo's defense. I'm just excited to see Devontae Smith, all the guys from Louisiana with a chance to play in the Caesars Superdome in the Super Bowl. There's so many things to be excited about. I don't know about you. I'm just, Marcus, pumped for this game.
The kick is away and good!
Right now, the Eagles' chances are dim.
On the spot, 10 seconds on the clock, gonna show them what we got to offer. If you want, you can make it to the top, but you gotta learn how to suffer. It's my time, gotta lay it on the line, gotta show them just what I'm made of. Lights out, now there's no room for doubt, gotta focus on the goal. The winner takes all, pass the ball, reach for the stars, no stopping us. Winner takes all. Oh my God! No way! Watch the score. We can go far, we ain't dropping this. The winner takes all.
I'm excited to get down to New Orleans. Let's go make history.
The winner takes all.
You're here for 15 talking about making history. Let's look at what these two have done in the playoffs. Well, they're playing in Super Bowls, so of course they haven't lost a game. But in terms of passing yards, Mahomes at 211, the touchdown interception ratio looking great for both of them. They're both almost with identical passer ratings, and the rushing touchdowns favors Jalen Hurts, although not all of those are brotherly shoves. He's also ran his way into the end zone. And we're not doing the whole only one can be good. They're both very good. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes is a legendary quarterback, but which one is more crucial to their team's success in this particular game, Mark?
I'm actually going to go with Jalen Hurts, which might sound maybe a little bit backwards here, because if you are the Kansas City Chiefs, I think job number one is slowing down Saquon Barkley, making sure he's not the guy that beats you. We have seen him run up and down the field, not just during the regular season, but in the postseason too. Big plays have been so crucial to the Eagles having success offensively. So I think Steve Spagnuolo and that Chiefs defense are really going to work to try and take that away, which means it's going to be incumbent upon Jalen Hurts to be effective, to be efficient with the football, not just running it, but throwing it as well. You mentioned Devonta Smith and the success he's had against some of Spag's defenses, but I think Jalen Hurts is going to have to deliver the ball on time and on target, just because that's going to, I think, open some things up for Saquon down the way.
And that's what he was able to do with the not Saquon edition of the Eagles against the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. It was a ball bounce to Nick Bolton that wound up costing them the game. I'm going to take the Mahomes side of this because honestly, there's no part of Kansas City that's like, hey, we got to get Kareem Hunt in this game. Like, I don't think Vic Fangio is having Hollywood Brown keep him up at night, right, in preparation for this game. 15 just makes things so different. Yes, 26% of his passes were at or behind the line of scrimmage this year, but that's just indicative of the fact that the entire field, including the aspects of the field sometimes that behind Patrick Mahomes, must be defended when he has the ball in his hands. And so much of the offense, of course, he's the quarterback, runs through him. But how about this? His scramble rate during the regular season was 5%. In the postseason, it's at 15%. Whatever it takes to be done, 15 has to do it. So I will take the Mahomes side of that. But it's all about quarterbacks. Everybody's trying to get the next Patrick Mahomes. We had a lot of good quarterbacks in the draft last season. One of them, Drake Maye, in a conversation with Good Morning Football this week.
What was your rookie moment in the Pro Bowl over the weekend?
That's a great question. I think throwing touchdown to Jamar was pretty cool. That was pretty cool for me to experience that. One of the best in the NFL. And really my rookie moment was just being around the guys, being around the veterans. Seeing guys like Dexter Lawrence and Jeffrey Simmons, some of them I played against, Daniil Hunter, who sacked me and strip sacked me himself. So seeing guys that I faced all year long, and guys that I grew up playing Madden with, and as a video gamer, so kind of getting a chance to be around them and kind of be one of the guys was probably the coolest moment for me.
Yeah, and one of the guys you probably played with on that Madden on the defensive side was probably Mike Vrabel. And he's going to be your new head coach. You two have talked, and I know you said he's been awesome. What have you guys discussed, in your meetings, and what are you guys talking about to take your game to the next level? Because you had an outstanding rookie year.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I think, big thing is kind of, I think a year one, year two is people always talking about just taking a jump. For me, just trying to improve in certain areas. So I think one way is protecting the football. I think I can protect the football better and be better in situational moments. I think that can be huge for myself. So, the big thing for me is get the guys going. I think, Coach Vrabel was talking about, coaching us up hard and, getting the right guys in the locker room. I think that's, huge. So getting the guys done it in New England and knows what it's like to have success. I'm looking forward to having him there and excited.
Let's settle something. All right. So LeBron is in the news a lot right now, okay? Because he's got a new teammate, and oh my gosh, LeBron's being talked about a lot. I feel like a lot of people your age, from your generation, go with LeBron in the LeBron versus MJ debate. However, you also got Chapel Hill in your blood. Where do you come out? Best player of all time, LeBron or Jordan?
Grew up watching LeBron, and what a player he is. It can't take me away from my roots. Michael Jordan's a North Carolina guy, and I think it's the easy answer for me with Michael Jordan.
Wow. Yes. Wow. We got hope for the young ones. Wow. Thank you, Drake. We're going to be okay.
The future is great. We're in good hands.
That's awesome.
Great answer, dude. You're the man.
Yeah.
Great stuff from Drake Maye and Good Morning Football. And always interested to find out there's only one good basketball player in the history of my beloved sport. So let's talk about Drake Maye, Marcus. Your expectations for him, because there's a lot of change in New England. There was only 1 year an opportunity for the previous head coach. Now Mike Vrabel probably going to get more of an opportunity. Josh McDaniels is back. Everything old is new again. How do you feel about the Patriots in 2025?
Well, I understand the coaching changes. I'm sort of curious about the way the whole thing went down, but obviously the Patriots trying to rekindle the Patriot way, right? Try and bring back some of that Bill Belichick magic that they had for 20-plus years. Look, regardless of who the coaches are, I think the biggest thing for the Patriots really is just going to be an infusion of talent. I mean, what we saw out of Drake Maye was certainly very encouraging, and I think it was one of those you had to sort of see it for yourself. If you were just stat watching or box score watching, it might not have looked impressive, but to actually watch Maye play gave you an understanding of what it is the Patriots saw in him. But I think for him to take that big step forward, they've got to get him some help. They've got to help with the pass catchers. They drafted a couple of rookies in Jalen Polk and Javon Baker, who really were non-factors this year. They've got to figure out a way to get some infusion of talent on that roster, and then I think we can talk about Drake Maye maybe making that leap from year 1 to year 2.
Yeah, you look back and you evaluate the situation for Gerard Mayo, and you can do that based on what we see as the team's draft needs in 2025, right? Tackle, guard, wide receiver, an opposite cornerback other than Christian Gonzalez, right? Safety. There's need on the interior defensive line, interior offensive line. The team was broken. The evaluation is going to be how much talent can they get around Drake Maye, because we know what to expect from Mike Vrabel, and for better or worse, Josh McDaniels as well. Folks, Verizon Access is going to give you things. It's going to give you the best of Super Bowl 59. From getting on the field to player meet and greets, exclusive NFL experiences, you get the best of football just for being a Verizon customer. Looking forward to Verizon Access at Super Bowl 59. Coming up here on Super Bowl today, what about a couple Cams that play defense? Cam Heyward and Cam Jordan, who, plays in that stadium. Looking forward to more Super Bowl today. We'll be right back after this.
All night, we pounding our chest. I know you got to pay attention to me. Y'all got to guard me. You got to.
7:33 to go in overtime. McCaffrey comes in motion. They fake the jet to him. Purdy throws it hot and overthrows his receiver incomplete. Big time rush, Chris Jones. The first time in 6,944 days there is a back-to-back Super Bowl champion.
I love you, brother. Always, dog. Always, dog. I appreciate everything you are, man.
Oh, what a run for the Kansas City Chiefs. What a run for the Mississippi River. What about 2,300 miles all the way through the United States of America, 200 culminating in a delta. Right there off of Lake Pontchartrain, New Orleans, Louisiana. That's where Cam Jordan plays football. Cam Heyward on Tuesday, Super Bowl Live.
Cam, it's awesome to have you with us. I want to talk to you about the NFL. I want to talk to you about the Super Bowl, but you got your foundation as well. Would love to know how you're using your platform to help others.
You know, the Heyward House, you know, we've grown over the years, and being recognized last year as the Man of the Year, you know, we've only just grown, and we've been able to help out a lot of people, whether it's, you know, providing more suits for young men, more backpack drive, and just getting more people involved. You know, the great thing about the Man of the Year, it provides an even bigger platform for a lot of our great players, and just allows us to help out people more around the cities and, you know, around the country that we want to.
That's awesome. So I'm looking at the bottom of your notes here. Heyward has never been on a losing team in his NFL career. That is not my experience. Okay, so let's just talk about from a Pittsburgh Steelers standpoint. Like, is it Tomlin? Is it the culture? Is it the whole thing? Like, what goes into that? What do you think makes it special out there?
You know, I think we try to be competitive, you know, in such a tough league. You know, it's not our goal to set out to just be, you know, above 500. It's to win Super Bowls. And I know we haven't accomplished that yet, but it's about having good players, good coaches, and trying to execute throughout the year. And, you know, it's a daunting task because, you know, every year new teams are gunning for you.
So what is the missing ingredient? Because you just touched on it, right? Like, you got good players on this team. You got a great coach in Mike Tomlin. What's it going to take for this team to get over the hump?
You know, one, it takes a little bit of luck. You got to have health on your side. But I think the also thing is, you know, a group of players, old and young, working together and executing at a high level, and especially in those big time moments. I know our December was atrocious when it comes to, you know, getting those wins in December. But, you know, I think we can be better. I think we can execute better down the road, and hopefully we have the right guys to do it.
So, Cam, I was in Pittsburgh in a preseason game with the Houston Texans, and Ben Roethlisberger comes jogging on the field. And we were thinking before that moment, like, if Pittsburgh just gets a quarterback or solidifies a quarterback at that spot, what could they be? And then fast forward past through his career, obviously, great run. So Russell Wilson came in, and he played pretty good football for you guys throughout the whole year. So, and I don't want to put you on the spot like, oh, Russ is coming back, but do you think that could be it? Could it be just Russ getting another year in there, or any type of veteran quarterback, or just finding that answer there at that one component to really kind of get you guys over that hump?
I don't think it's just that. You know, I think we got to have more cohesion between offense and defense. You know, the best teams always play complementary football. I know our offense is always striving to do more, and I know our defense is too. But having a clear-cut decision at quarterback is going to be huge for us. I don't know who it is. If I did, I'd tell you, but they don't let me in those meetings. But, you know, I think having Russ or Justin, I think we would be more than comfortable having either one of those guys. They showed it this year. They can play at a high level, and they're only going to grow in this offense. You know, the one thing I love when you get a guy from free agency, the more he gets comfortable in the city, in the scheme, offense, defense, doesn't matter. But the more you're around just the same place, you feel like you can expand on what you did last year.
Yeah, no, it's a good way to look at it. And I know there's a big game coming up on Sunday. If you hadn't heard, Cam, we got Super Bowl 59 on Sunday. You know the personnel for both of these squads. Give me the scouting report on what we could potentially expect from both of these teams in this matchup.
Well, you look at both offenses, and they do a great job of having a high conversion rate, especially on third down, fourth down. If you look at the past AFC Championship game, they stopped one in the Bills who was converting fourth down at a very high clip. But, you're now dealing with the monster of the tush push. And so we're going to see if this Chiefs defense that made a big stop last week or 2 weeks ago can do it again and try to stop the tush push of all time. So I'm looking forward to that matchup. I'm looking forward to the D line of the Kansas City Chiefs with Chris Jones, Charles Omenihu, and all the George Karlaftis go against this vaunted O-line in the Philadelphia Eagles. So, it's going to be a heck of a matchup. But, I know everybody likes to give love to the skill positions, but I think the trenches definitely need some love in this game.
Love for the defensive lineman from Cam Heyward there as we look here at some ranks between Chris Jones, Jalen Carter among defensive tackles. Just top 5 in all the categories. Snaps, quarterback pressures, quick quarterback pressures, which are very, very key. So now we got to ask the question, who's going to have a bigger impact in the Super Bowl, Marcus? Is it Jalen Carter or is it Chris Jones?
I'm going to go with Chris Jones. I mean, I feel like there's no real wrong answer to this thing, but I'm going to go with Chris Jones here because of what he does and what he means for that Chiefs defensive line. And not only does, you saw the numbers there about the quarterback pressures that he gets, but he just occupies so much of the attention of the opposition's offensive line. And that definitely helps to a guy like George Karlaftis on the other side get a little bit more one-on-one coverage and help him get to the quarterback as well. Not only does Chris Jones have a big part in getting after the quarterback, but also a big part of stopping the run as well. I mean, we talked about earlier Saquon Barkley and what his role is going to be in this offense. Well, part of counteracting that is getting Chris Jones the opportunity to fit the run, to try and slow things down up front there. So I think both these guys are really good. If you have to pick one, because I know that's the whole point of this segment, I'm picking Chris Jones here.
Yeah, I will take the other side of that. Jalen Carter is going to have to deal with Patrick Mahomes. I know that Chris Jones is so key at rushing the passer, especially from the edge late. And Jalen Hurts may have a tendency, especially if he's playing conservatively, to hold on to the ball for a significant amount of times, leaving him in danger from Chris Jones. But then the fact that Jalen Carter can provide so much pressure from so many different directions, we saw there was a fake stunt that he ran against the Rams that got Matthew Stafford on the ground late in the game, that changed the complexion of the end of that game. And the absorption of so many double teams where Jalen Carter is just a big factor. It's tough to pick, but I would side on the Jalen Carter side of things as a young, explosive rusher, just like Chris Jones, who should, by my estimation, not my estimation, is my firm belief, Chris Jones should have a Super Bowl MVP in his trophy that he got robbed of, because all we do is value quarterbacks. Let's value quarterbacks by talking more about players that sack quarterbacks. Cam Jordan on Good Morning Football this week.
Talking about deodorant, let's get straight into it, all right? You're repping the Old Spice Total Body Dry Fill Deodorant. Be honest, which teammate are you supplying a couple of bottles to? Because we got some of them dudes in the locker room that either take the shower pill or don't use deodorant. Come on, put them on blast right now.
I'm going to have to say I clearly play in the trenches. So as much as I love my D-line, I probably hate my O-line somewhere deep on the very top of my heart. So of course it's going to be an offensive lineman. And so if I see a guy, if I see a guy like Eric McCoy or Cesar Ruiz, who are my dogs, they know, they like to dance and have a good time. So which means they're probably leaning on the sweaty side. And that's when you have to hit them with, just a little product placement. You hit them with a little slide. Like, hey, brother, I got you this wonderful Mandarin sandalwood, Old Spice deodorant stick, just for you.
Well, you guys played both the Eagles and the Chiefs this year. Your defense held both quarterbacks to 0 touchdowns. As the pass rusher du jour on those days, what is one thing that you could tell somebody playing on Sunday, hey, this is how you'd stop Jalen Hurts, or this is how you'd stop Patrick Mahomes?
I'm going to say, hey, good luck. But if you want to know the truth, if you talk about Jalen Hurts, he can beat you in the air, he can beat you with your feet, and then he gives off the ball to Saquon, home run, Barkley, Mr. 2,500 all-purpose yards, whatever that is. I mean, come on, dude. Talking about Saquon 2K, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, good luck. Now, we had a great game plan, and I think we had the defense to match up with them with our guys like Demario Davis, with Tyrann Mathieu, with myself, Chase Young, Carl Granderson, and Brian Brzee, the sophomore phenom. And it was a heck of a time trying to hold everybody down. We go to Kansas City, and you've got Pat Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and whatever brotherly, heavenly bond that they have with each other. It's hard to stop. It's just pick your poison. Not to mention they got Worthy over there. DeAndre Hopkins somehow is in that mix. I mean they put together an all-star studded cast of wide receivers just for this playoff run. At that point, again, you start sweating a little bit, which is going to bring me back to why you need a total body deodorant like Old Spice.
You know what, Cam? I'm glad you brought that up because I was getting so bored hearing about Saquon and Mahomes. I want to talk more about Old Spice. You would know, and I'll tell you why. Because you're from Arizona, you went to college in California, and you played your whole career in Louisiana. You know what it's like to be hot. However, Cam, recently there was snowfall in New Orleans, and I believe the family got out there and did the Elsa and Anna and made a snowman. Talk us through this. This is so cool.
Yeah, I mean, come on. When are you going to be in New Orleans where it's just freezing cold all of a sudden, enough to get snow? Hadn't snowed my entire time here. I think it's just an anomaly, right? But so we're out there, and of course, my role as a dad is to make their lives fear snow, just like I hate snow, So we got out there, we made a snowman. They're like, Dad, our hands are cold. And I was like, oh, no. We're going to get all this snow fun that you've been dreaming about. We're going to roll in it. We're going to toss the snowballs, and we're going to do everything that you want to. And by the end of the day, I was like, 10 minutes in, I was like, all right, so I'm ready to go inside. They're like, no, Dad, we're going to stay out here. And we stayed till that snow thawed. And I said, wow, okay, this backfired. And now they're like, Dad, when can we go see snow again? In the next 40 years, whenever it snows again, but for me, apparently, I thought my kids would have the same desire to get out the snow as I do. They don't. They loved it.
Kirk Cousins left the snow in Minnesota for Atlanta. Where's his next stop? Where does Kirk Cousins wind up in 2025? Could he be a backup for the Falcons? We discuss next on Super Bowl Today, powered by Verizon.
want me to run it up again, they want me to run it up again, and they wish it's my command,
Saquon Barkley goes into NFL history.
Once again, you know you playing with a legend, for real.
The nasty ass cut, right? I know.
And then I'm winning once again. You know you playing with a legend.
What a player.
Legend, for real. Yeah, they calling me the GOAT and I'ma take the name.
He has broken the 2,000-yard rushing mark.
I ain't with the complaining, I just play the game.
Touchdown!
Saquon.
So how bad of a move by the Giants was this? Well, here's a look at the most rushing yards in a season in NFL history, including the playoffs. Look at Saquon Barkley. Right there, 30 yards away from breaking the all-time record of Terrell Davis and TD when he did it twice, and Eric Dickerson. All those teams won the Super Bowl. So that's what's at stake for Saquon and the Philadelphia Eagles. They're going up against Steve Spagnuolo's defense. Of course, the Chiefs' offense, powerful. They've started scoring a lot. Just how much do the Eagles need 26 to carry this thing on Sunday, Marcus?
I think they need him a lot. I mean, he's done a good job of carrying them all throughout the regular season and through the postseason as well. I mean, obviously you saw the season-long yardage totals, but I think within that too are the big plays that, game-changing, sort of back-breaking plays that Saquon has had all season long. What's been amazing about this, and I was going back and looking at his numbers from this year, in terms of a full season, this was maybe the least receiving work he has ever done, and we sort of glossed over that because he was so good running the football in this offense. And I talked earlier about how Jalen Hurts needs to come out and have a really, really good game, but I think some of that is incumbent on Saquon doing Saquon things. If this offense becomes one-dimensional, that becomes a lot easier for Steve Spagnuolo to defend. And so while I don't think you need Saquon to go out and have 150, 200 yards, I do think he has to have a really good day running the football for Philly to be successful.
I agree, Marcus, that he needs to have the ball in his hands. I remember there was a Super Bowl that a lot of people celebrate for some reason because the Patriots won. Julio Jones was playing football at an exceedingly high level the entire postseason. He got 4 targets in that Super Bowl. One of them, I would argue, is the best catch in Super Bowl history. It got overshadowed by a lucky catch that came afterwards. But either way, I think Saquon Barkley needs to touch the ball 30 times. I don't care how. Maybe you snap it directly to him. Maybe you throw it to him a few times. The San Francisco 49ers got CMC 30 touches last year, and they were a play away blocking Chris Jones successfully from having that Super Bowl. And maybe we're not talking about three-peats, none of that. And the whole narrative of the season is different. But you just have to give Saquon the ball and have him be Saquon, because the threat of Saquon is that it could literally be a touchdown at any moment. So yeah, you have to pay off that threat by utilizing it, by getting him the football, because it's gonna work. It's gonna work great things for the Philadelphia Eagles and their team as we continue here on Super Bowl today and look ahead to this game where not just Saquon, the world is watching. The world was also watching in free agency when the question was, where does Kirk Cousins go? How are the Minnesota Vikings going to deal with the lapse of not having Kirk Cousins? What is Kirk Cousins going to be like in the Atlanta Falcons? And now there's a whole new set of questions for Kirk Cousins, some of which were asked this week on Good Morning Football.
I got to address this quickly. So you were doing some media recently, and you were very good at it, and you're at the desk, and you had this quote where you're like, Patrick Mahomes and I don't even play the same position. Now, Kirk, I'm constantly defending you against everybody else. Now I have to defend you against you. Where were you going with that quote? What do you mean?
Yeah, I can expand on that now that we have some time.
Go.
I used to say this to Sean McVay back in maybe 2015, 16, maybe even before that, when I would watch Aaron Rodgers play and some of the stuff he would do. I would say to Sean, it's like he knows the future. And Sean would go, I know, right? And so I still see that a little bit with some of the guys that play, specifically Mahomes, even Lamar Jackson, some of the stuff he does, just their spatial awareness, their ability to kind of know, when do I run? When do I stay in the pocket? When do I move but remain a passer? When do I remain a passer and then say, okay, it's time to go and take off with my legs? I just think that sixth sense, that ability, it's hard to teach. And he just has always been able to do it well. And the more tape the defenses have on him, it just doesn't really change the fact that he's going to have that sense. I mean, even some of those plays he makes where he's, spin moves and no looks and I don't know how to do that. I wish I did. Maybe he'd do a clinic someday and I could learn from him. But yeah, sometimes I'm watching with my boys and I look at them and I'm like, yeah, sorry guys, Dad can't do that.
Kirk, you just perfectly explained our show. You come on here anytime and take all the time you need to explain a take like that. We appreciate it so much, and it's a great way to differentiate how the quarterback position is played. I don't want you to downplay it, though. You're still pretty good at what you're doing and in your livelihood. You got a couple more years on your contract with the Atlanta Falcons. Now, we know that last season did not end the way you would have wanted it. How do you see your future with football going, knowing that you have a no-trade clause in your contract with the Falcons and what you can still bring to a team?
Yeah, I definitely still feel like I have a lot of good football left in me. And I will say, about Patrick, because I used to ask this question to coaches like, hey, do I need to be a scrambler to be able to make it in this league long term? And coaches would always say, Kirk, you have to be able to throw from the pocket with accuracy no matter what. And while the ability to scramble and do other things is a nice trait to have, ultimately, the whole thing is built on, can you, from the pocket, throw with accuracy and make great decisions? And so that really is the trait we all have to have. And so that's kind of always been what I lean on. But, yeah, I still think I got good football left in me. And, time will tell. It's still kind of uncertain. We'll get to March and know a lot more. But I think the focus for me really is getting healthy. And that's really my focus is I got to get healthy. I'm no good to the Falcons. I'm no good to a team if I'm not feeling really good. And so that's really where my focus has been through January and February. Now the season's wound down, really taking all the time I can to get my body feeling really good.
It was really amazing what you did to back up Michael Penix towards the end of that season. But the way you're speaking, does that mean maybe you weren't playing at your 100% very best coming off of that Achilles injury last season?
I think the Achilles healed well. I think there was a little bit of just trying to get my right ankle back around the Achilles, but the Achilles itself healed really well. And even then, we were 6-3, was playing well, doing a lot of good things, even if the right ankle wasn't perfect. Nobody's perfect in this league. We're never feeling 100%. So it didn't really affect me too much. But then against the Saints, got hit pretty good in my right shoulder and elbow. And from there, kind of dealing with that, was something I was working through and just never really could get it to where I wanted it. And so now that the season's over, you have the time and the energy to say, okay, let's get the right ankle back. Let's get the shoulder back. Let's get the elbow back. And if we can do that, feel like I got a new life ahead of me here in pro football.
Sure.
Yeah, and we know that healing starts right after the season is over, and I'm sure you're, kind of right on pace where you need to be. But you're now taking part in this Procter & Gamble Battle of the Paddles, which is super exciting, fun. Tell everybody what this event is all about and how you're participating.
Yeah, so P&G is partnering with Lowe's to do this Battle of the Paddles event at Super Bowl week, which is now their third annual. They did it in Vegas last year as well, and I think Phoenix the year before that. But a lot of fun to be able to play table tennis against some other NFL players and some other celebrities. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm a table tennis guy. We've always had a table tennis set up in the locker room over the years, with Tress Way, the punter of the Commanders, being by far the best table tennis player I've ever seen. Usually specialists are pretty good, but he was head and shoulders above anybody else. So it'll be fun to play with them. And then P&G is running a little promo now through Maye with Lowe's, or if you can go to Lowe's.com, you can get $10 off for every $50 you spend on any P&G products like Bounty, Swiffer, Tide, through Lowe's. So fun event, looking forward to it. And I got to dust off the table tennis skills before I head to New Orleans with my boys in the basement and see if we can get our top spin going and our back spin and see what we can do.
Top spin, back spin, just drop the facial routine. What's the skincare routine, Kirk? We have so many questions about the future. Let's answer some questions on our own, Marcus, because we don't know where Kirk Cousins is going to be. Where do you want Kirk Cousins to be in 2025?
How about I throw this one out? What about the Cleveland Browns? Right? They are definitely in need of a quarterback situation. I mean, everything they've tried the last few years has backfired spectacularly on them. We saw Jerry Jeudy have a real breakout year this year, especially once Jameis Winston took over at the quarterback spot. It would be a reunion of Kirk Cousins and Kevin Stefanski from their time in Minnesota together. Look, I don't know if the Browns have the assets necessary to sort of make this thing happen. I know Kirk has a no-trade clause. I don't know if he would waive it, but it does feel like a reunion of coach and quarterback in a place where they could use some help under center might not be a bad idea.
I'll bring up a few teams because it all ties back to one thing. Okay, so the Atlanta Falcons have been looking for an edge rusher for a very long time. People talk about the Jets curse of John Abraham. John Abraham was also the last good edge rusher for the Atlanta Falcons, by the way. There is a Cleveland Brown who just announced that he would like to be traded. So the Falcons could acquire Myles Garrett in a trade. Perhaps a quarterback goes back, and Browns fans, I know you've got the jersey, it's in the window with all the names of the quarterbacks, and you're like, oh, now Kirk Cousins is hurt. Kirk Cousins was basically standing on top of two frogs, holding on with just hopes and dreams on his ankle last year. He mentioned it in the interview. He was dealing with a litany of issues. There were times in the 2024 season where Kirk Cousins was a fully functional and operational quarterback. That wasn't the case towards the end, and if you're comparing him with Aaron Rodgers, there were 4 months of difference in the times between those two older quarterbacks tearing their Achilles. I'm with Marcus Grant. I think the Cleveland Browns are an obvious solution. I know you don't want to trade Myles Garrett. You don't want to live in that world. Myles is looking at you like Magic Johnson. I ain't going to be here. So you might as well take advantage of the best opportunity. Because, yeah, I mean, I know there were both games against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Marcus, but Kirk Cousins was dealing in those games.
Absolutely. Absolutely dealing. One was a Thursday night game, if I have it right. I mean, just absolutely lit up the Bucs. I'm not ready to completely close the book on Kirk Cousins. I know that he struggled at times this year, but I would like to see what he's like a full year removed from this Achilles injury. Put him in a situation where he's comfortable with the offense. We know, as I mentioned, Jerry Jeudy is there. David Njoku has shown that he can make some plays there. The offensive line's not awful. I just would be interested to see kind of what happens if he went to Cleveland.
And we're like a decade into this whole Kyle Shanahan system love for Kirk Cousins, and we could finally have it back after those years in Minnesota and get Kevin Stefanski matched up with a quarterback who's spent some good times and had a lot of success in that system. Folks, get hyped for the Apple Music Super Bowl 59 halftime show with 6 months of Apple Music for just $2.99. Terms and restrictions do apply. Coming up on Super Bowl today, powered by Verizon, Patrick Peterson, who played and won at LSU, now back in Louisiana. Looking forward to Super Bowl 59. That's next on Super Bowl Today, powered by Verizon.
Eagles defense has been terrific.
We've been dominating all year.
You mentioned Quinion. You mentioned Coop.
It's Jalen Carter.
Can't block him.
Zach Blunt, first team All-Pro.
Come on!
Intercepted.
Slade took it.
Knocked out of his hand. Eagles have it.
Rain, sleet, or snow, Eagles are going to go.
These young players in Philadelphia, they've been incredible.
The 2024 Eagles defense flying to New Orleans, Louisiana, Super Bowl 59. Want to get some insight into some defense? One of our guys been really good at it for a really long time. Patrick Peterson on the Insiders ahead of the Super Bowl.
So you got this matchup on Sunday, Super Bowl 59. You know there's a lot of weapons, right, on both sides of this. In your mind, this could be a receiver, a tight end, running back. Who scares you the most? All the skill guys in this game, if your lineup, you're preparing as a defender going into this game, who worries you the most?
It has to be Devontae Smith, just because he have the speed, he can run the routes, he can catch those contested balls that Jalen Hurts throw to him down the sideline. So I will have to go with him. But the dark horse in this game, I believe, is going to be DeAndre Hopkins, because he's been a guy that only had, 2 receptions throughout this playoff run.
Yeah.
Nobody have really known about, have pretty much heard about him throughout this playoff run. I think he is going to be the guy that's going to be the deciding factor that's going to help the Kansas City Chiefs win this game. So I'm already giving you my predictions.
Well, so these teams got 2 weeks to prepare. You mentioned DeAndre Hopkins. Obviously, we know, Devontae's going to be a big part of it. AJ's going to be a big part of it. As someone who's game planned for, some excellent weapons and shut down plenty of excellent weapons in your career, what do you think the best way, for, let's say, a defense to address this? It's like, all right, is it, all right, we got to make sure this guy particular doesn't hurt us, or how do you think as a defense you kind of address this?
In the Super Bowl, is you're not picking your poison, because now these are the 2 best teams. So each team have weapons all over the yard. And for the most part, it's going to be good on good. So you're going to have to win your one-on-one matchups. And that's what it's going to come down to, which team is going to win their one-on-one matchups, because there's no talent discrepancies here. You know what I mean? So it's going to come down to the one-on-one matchups and who's better at it.
So you got some pretty good corners on these teams, too. Guys that talk a lot. You got Slay. C.J. Gardner-Johnson is more of a safety, but he's played a lot of different positions.
Oh, yeah.
You've watched all these guys.
Yep.
Who do you like?
Man, I love McDuffie, man. Trent McDuffie. I love what he brings to the table. He's like one of those wild card pieces to where you see him on blitzes. You see him shutting down the #1 receiver. You see him breaking up passes. He's one of those guys that I really love to watch, and he's been on my radar ever since he entered the NFL. And I had the opportunity to talk to him before the game at Media Day yesterday. So he's one of those guys that I really, really love to watch. But then you got Darius Slay, one of the old heads of the group. That's one of my all-time favorites. Me and him came in around the same time. I'm a little bit older than him, but I love to watch him play as well. Then you got the young guys in the Eagles secondary who's making the name for themselves. Cooper and what's my other Mitchell. Those guys who really helped turn the table for this Philadelphia secondary. So it's a lot of secondary guys I keep my eye on for sure.
And McDuffie too, so versatile. I can see you in this game just because play inside, play outside, do all sorts of fun things. So
some pigeons in here.
If you
those are pigeons.
Yeah, they. Yep. Do you think they want to join us?
Saltines or something?
Do the pigeons want to join us on the inside?
Right.
Can we tell them that
we are
indoors,
right?
You have the seat. They cannot jump in your seat.
They can't jump in the seat.
Get them out of here. We have one guest. That is the maximum. Leave us alone. Back to the non-pigeons. Patrick Mahomes is very good.
He is.
I don't know that there's a quarterback that I can think of who's like him just based on the skill set that he has. If you had to, and I know you're covering the receiver, but if you had to face him, if you had to pick him off, what's the best way to attack Patrick Mahomes?
Man, now that's one of those ones that you just have to take what you get, because Patrick is one of those quarterbacks not going to turn the ball over. He's also a quarterback that's going to create extra time, which is a defensive back worst nightmare. Like we know we're in the mindset of covering guys for 4 seconds. When you have to go up against a Lamar Jackson, a Patrick Mahomes, Russell Wilson, you're just pulling your hair out. You're pulling your hair out because you know that you're gonna have to cover these receivers for an extensive amount of time. So no, for the most part, you're playing backyard football and just hope and pray that your defensive line can get them down.
Great interview, great job by Tom and Ian and Patrick Peterson to note, right, the pigeons. If it flies, it lies community. The pigeons have an answer, Marcus. They're just going to walk all the way through on Super Bowl.
There it is. I mean, birds aren't real. So I don't know. Just beware of what you see down there at Radio Row. Be careful, guys.
All right, so we do know that this particular set of birds has a tough task ahead of them in Kansas City to stop. Also, the Kansas City secondary stopping this Eagles offense. Which defensive back do you think, Marcus, has the biggest impact on Sunday?
For better or worse, I think it's going to be Cooper DeJean, who's had a fantastic rookie season, but a lot is going to be asked of him. I mean, you heard them ask Patrick Peterson about how do you stop or how do you slow down Patrick Mahomes, which obviously nobody has found an actual answer to that question yet because here he is going for his 3rd straight Super Bowl win. But having to deal with whether it is Travis Kelce with the number of wide receivers, pick your poison, DeAndre Hopkins, Xavier Worthy, Juju Smith-Schuster, whomever it may be, a lot is going to be asked of Cooper DeJean to try and make some difficult decisions, try to make things tough for Mahomes and for the pass catchers there. So I think if he plays well, I think it really does slow down what the Chiefs want to do. If he's confused, which is certainly not out of the realm of possibility against Mahomes in this offense, could be a really, really long day for him.
I think Vic Fangio does a good job of putting those guys in positions to be successful. I think that's why the young guys are able to contribute so early. On the other side, it's a cohesive unit, a job done by Steve Spagnuolo to just utilize Trent McDuffie in whichever way makes the outcomes the best for the Kansas City Chiefs. And I know he got by Mac Hollins. Every once in a while you play cornerback, it happens. It was in the AFC Championship game. Mac Hollins went up and made a play. What happened later in that game? After playing corner and not blitzing the entire game, Spags dials up a blitz on a crucial 4th down against the Bills, and nobody sees it coming. Trent McDuffie does an incredible job because Josh Allen is trying to fake the snap count and yelling and hollering. There was no movement from Trent McDuffie until it was absolutely necessary. And now, with no L'Jarius Sneed gone in free agency, he's had to wear the other team's best receiver the entire game. Trouble is, there's 2 very good ones for Philadelphia this time around, and so I think that puts the most pressure and hinges, success-wise, the most on Trent McDuffie. So a couple looks at both teams' defensive backfields there. It's time for Super Sleepers, presented by Courtyard by Marriott. As we look to these sleepers, because these are the players that are traditionally being slept on, nobody is talking about them other than us, Marcus.
Nope.
Who are you going to talk about?
I'm going to talk about Xavier Worthy. I mentioned him just now when I was talking about Cooper DeJean and some of his responsibilities potentially on Sunday. But we've seen him sort of ramp up. Early on, I think they had to kind of throw him into the fire because they had so many injuries. Rasheed Rice going down and just trying to figure out what they were doing at the wide receiver position forced Worthy into the fire. As the Chiefs got healthier and they started to get on a roll, we saw them sort of dial back what they asked of him, but kind of eventually kind of adding little things, little pieces. Obviously, we know he is the fastest guy in the history of the combine. They have been using that to their advantage, just trying to get the ball in his hands. And one thing that we have noticed of the Chiefs as the postseason has gone on, they are sort of going against type. They're doing things that people haven't seen of them all year, a little bit of self-scouting involved. I truly believe having this time and having Andy Reid there, they've got something in their bag of tricks, and I think we're going to see the rookie be heavily involved. Maybe some gadget plays, just maybe some things people didn't expect, but I do think we see maximum Worthy this week.
Yeah, it's such a far cry away from him feeling like a go merchant at the start of the season, and now he's a fully formed wide receiver for the Kansas City Chiefs. My Chiefs sleeper is Kareem Hunt. Think back earlier in this season. You remember this, Marcus. Everybody was flying on the waiver wire to go get Carson Steele.
Oh, that was a fun day.
If it's Carson Steele and Isaiah Pacheco and waiting for Pacheco to get back, the Chiefs are not playing in this game. Kareem Hunt gives this offense a dimensionality that it does not have without Kareem Hunt. And essentially, nobody enjoyed that rest, that extra week, not trying against the Broncos, and then the first round bye other than Kareem Hunt, who came to the Chiefs off the couch and is like, yeah, I can play running back better than Carson Steele. And he did, and he has. And that's why I think despite being the guy that's going to get the most carries probably in this game over Isaiah Pacheco, he somehow winds up being a sleeper. Coming up here, it's not a discussion about a sleeper. It's a very simple discussion. Is Patrick Mahomes the GOAT? We do know he is a human. He is a human person, but is he the GOAT? That discussion coming up next on Super Bowl Today, powered by Verizon. Super Bowl 59 coming up in beautiful New Orleans, Louisiana, as we look at the Superdome and the rest of downtown. The questions surrounding this Super Bowl become historical when discussing the quarterback of the Kansas City Chiefs. These are the quarterbacks to start 5 or more Super Bowls. Tom Brady did it 34 years old. John Elway did it at 38 years old after it was said that he couldn't win the big game. And then it turns out that was all he could do at a certain point. Patrick Mahomes, 29 and 145 days. He's got some work to do before he turns 30, leading us to this question, Marcus. If he wins, is Patrick Mahomes the GOAT?
Look, Patrick Mahomes is amazing, right? There's no argument there, right? What he has done has been phenomenal. Of all time, I mean, there's still so much of his career, I think, that's left to be written. The fact that you pointed out, he's not even 30 years old yet. You know, he's been paired with, I think, the perfect head coach for him in Andy Reid. They've done amazing things. I want to give him an incomplete. I think he's amazing. I think he's knocking on the door of immortality for sure. Can we wait? Is it okay to wait a little bit before we make a definition?
I think asking for a call for waiting is completely appropriate. I think all time also encompasses the future, which is in question as global capital clinches its pearls even more powerful on the working masses of the planet. But in terms of being the greatest of all time, yes. All right, Patrick Mahomes is very good. Tom Brady was a very, very good quarterback. There are also very, very good quarterbacks who never got an opportunity to win in the consummate, supreme, extremely team sport that requires so many things to happen with a ball that is ultimately not round. I'm just glad that we live in a world, Marcus, where context exists and we can evaluate the particular circumstances and say, yeah, these guys were all very good. We don't have to necessarily punch at each other and appreciate one more than the other. We can just be glad that we got to see it.
Counterpoint. Rings.
Rings. Why discuss any of the available nuance in sports when we can just count to a certain number and say that that player was better? That's what we try to not do here on this show. We hope you enjoyed spending time with us here on Super Bowl Today, powered by Verizon. We got more shows coming up this week with more thoughts from players around the NFL about this particular game, ultimately culminating in who wins. We're looking forward to Sunday. We're looking forward to seeing you back with us on Super Bowl Today. For Marcus, I'm Patrick. We'll see you next time.